Hi friends, welcome to the last of the boxes that I'm going to do for a little bit on the big collection. I almost killed myself loading this one. So I had to remember, when I bought the collection, we only had so much space in the van. And we were starting to realize we were going to run out of space. So we tore open some of the boxes, dumped the stuff into another box, and then just kind of closed it back up. It's not even really that sealed. However, these boxes are full. I mean, there is no room left in this. It's just packed. And it was literally just, let's throw stuff in there just to get it out of there. So I don't know what's in here, but basically there's no space, whereas the other ones are generally about halfway down. This is full to the brim and it's heavy. So, all right, let's get into it. We got a lot of stuff here. So right on the top, I see 2 copies of Marquet Press's Chaotic role-playing game. One's never been opened. It's brand new. Well, it's new in the shrink. That's a Gen. I know the seller at Gen Con that uses those, so I'm assuming that was never used, but it might have been. Heroes and Heroines, which was based on Continuity Comics. We got a couple of books for that here. The Max role-playing game book. So it was a comic in the 90s, for those of you that are unfamiliar. And then here is the comic book role-playing game core book. So we've got 4 of those. Comics Greatest World was that. Yeah, so this is a tie into the Dark Horse. I actually was reading the Comics Greatest World when that came out. There was some pretty cool stuff in that. Barbed Wire came out of that, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's her down there, I think. And, you know, that was the infamous movie that came during there. But so that's cool. Comics Greatest World. I have to look through that. Oh, X, I remember that one. It was one of the comics now. Anyway, I think that's it. I think that's all they did in that. Another small press company called Event Horizon. They did this Hong Kong Action Theater, which was a pretty cool system, you know, with all the Hong Kong wire fu movies. And so they had a couple source books. I remember carrying that in my olden days. High Colonies is another one I vaguely remember carrying here and there. That was from Waterford Publishing House. Here's Hong Kong Action Theater 2, 2nd edition, and then this was when it was picked up by Guardians of Order. Guardians of Order did a lot of anime role-playing game stuff in the early 2000s. Looks like we got some Conspiracy X items here, well, at least one. The Macaulay source book. This is the not X-Files game, back when everybody was trying to do an X-Files game. A couple GURPS books here. We got GURPS Horror, 1st edition. And High Tech. This is the 2nd edition. 1st edition was I don't think it had a perfect bound cover. All right, speaking of back to Guardians of Order, it looks like I've got a stack of their stuff here. So they did Big Eye, Small Mouth, which has been through. Now there's a 4th edition, I believe, of that. Here's the Big Robots, Cool Starships book for, I think this is Big Eye, Small Mouth, 2nd edition. And here's some of the anime stuff. I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but Trigun, Parallel Duel, Ushugi Yugi. These are all kind of, some done as D20 books, some not. And here's one where there's a tie-in to Big Eye, Small Mouth. They've got a couple. So these are called the Ultimate Fan Guide series, and there's a bunch of them. They even did them in D20, non-D20. So it was kind of had a real running thing, and I vaguely remember some of them. But back to Big Eye, Small Mouth, we got actually a really nice run of that stuff. So here's the Space Fantasy book. I don't think I have seen a Big Eye, Small Mouth run since they were out and new. So here's Revolutionary Girl Utina anime. The Slayers next. I don't even remember them doing them as small books like this. I remember the Slayers being done in the bigger fan guides. Here's another Slayers, book 1. Cute and Fuzzy Seizure Monsters. If you know a little bit about that, it's kind of a take on Pokemon, and they also kind of had 2 different names for it. We'll see if the other one's in here. Besom Dungeon. So fantasy version, Big Eye Small Mouth dungeon version. Again, I have not seen these Grave of Heaven Erisa since they were done. So here's Big Eye Small Mouth. Here's the first edition. And this one was the original that they did. Really tough to find this old stuff, I'm pretty sure. Here's the character diary for Bessem. Game Master screen. Just holy cow, there was a lot of this. A lot more than I remember. Here's the fast play rules. This is Guardians of Order. Put out a lot of this stuff. Here's the Slayer's Try. Cold Hands, Dark Hearts. Here's the second edition of Big Eye Small Mouth. You can see they really beefed it up. Take a look here. First edition, second edition. Pretty big difference there, huh? Guardians of Order. And then Big Eye Small Mouth. Oh, it was also done. First edition was also done by Guardians of Order. I bet if they stuck with just Big Eye Small Mouth, they would have been fine. But then they tried to get into too many licenses. Fantasy Bestiary. So Centauri Knights. Big Ears, Small Mouse, where they did little critters into the system. Hot Rods. Oops, almost dropped it. Hot Rods and Gun Bunnies. Gotta have the books. The guns and gear. Okay. So, I think that's it for the Big Eye Small Mouth. Oh, goodness. Man, what a mess. All right. So, looks like now we're going to jump into DC Heroes. So, random. We're bopping around all over the place right now. So, all right. The new Teen Titans source book and the DC Atlas. Those are smaller. Here's later West End Games version. I'm just taking out the smaller stuff. The Metropolis source book. And then the Gotham City source book for the D6, the later version of it. Back to Mayfair Games. Here's the Watchmen source book, unfortunately with an overstock sticker. And into the bigger size stuff. So we've got the Justice League source book. So this is like my second, maybe even the third big buy of DC Heroes this year. And that had gone for a while since I had gotten anything. Come On Down module. Deadly Fusion, Batman vs. Superman. And I think there's something else in here. This feels a little thick. No? Okay. All right, we got the who's who of the DC Universe. And these were kind of the answer to Marvel's MU series, where all the characters and heroes were all laid out. They did 3 volumes of these. They're pretty hard to find because a lot of times the pages were all separated. So if you find them with the pages intact, that's pretty good. Belle Reeve source book. Moonshot. Night to Planet 3. Now, I am not a DC expert by any means. I mean, I know the game, but I don't know the characters as much. I know Marvel stuff a little better. All right, Lights, Camera, Action, or Cobra. Lights, Camera, Cobra, sorry. When a Stranger Calls. Martian Manhunter there. The Watchmen module. Again, another Watchmen module. So one of these was Taking Out the Trash, and the other is Who Watches the Watchmen. DC Heroes version, West End Games version. This is the Metropolis source book. And then the JLA. The JLA and the JSA are both pretty tough to find from DC. That's from D6. All right, let's separate this stuff a little. Legion of Superheroes, $29.95. So there's Lobo on the cover there. That one I haven't seen in a while. World at War, Sergeant Rock. Swamp Thing. Hot Pursuit module. And unopened, 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, brand new in the shrink. Looks like we got a bunch of them brand new in the shrink here. We got another Belle Reeve source book or module, and then Don't Ask module. Those are in the Shrink, another Lights Camera Cobra in the shrink. Night to Planet 3 in the shrink. Blood Feud and King of Crime, both of them in the shrink. Sorry, this one's going a little longer than normal. We got Blitzkrieg and Eternity Inc. in the shrink for both of those. Project Prometheus. Hex, Escort to Hell in the shrink. Legion of Superheroes, Volume 2, the World Book in the shrink. That's it for the shrink stuff. Dream Machine. The Hive. You often find, let me just finish that. The World Book again. This one's not in the shrink. And then Element of Danger. The reason why you find a lot of DC heroes in the shrink together like that is at the end of the run of Mayfair having it, they were lotting up the warehouse books with 3rd edition copy of the 3rd edition rulebook, and then they would shrink wrap it together with like every module they have, and they were selling them as a lot. So people would buy, basically they would buy the 3rd edition rulebook and they would get a whole bunch of modules for free. And unfortunately, it was all 1st edition modules and they generally didn't even open them up. So that's why you run into them a lot. Okay, I am pretty impressed with this batch here, but we get one more thing. So I got a box set here. I got to take all the modules out of the box set. So we got basically another copy of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century box set. Pretty good shape overall. It fortunately had everything thrown into it from a module wise, so that kept it from getting squished. Unpunched chits, counters. But what we got in it were all the modules, which I don't have any modules in stock. So this is great. So Earth in the 25th Century. This is the whole run, I'm betting. NEO in the 25th Century. Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. Mars in the 25th Century. A very, very hard to find hardware book. The Demos Mandate module. I'm kind of chuckling because at one point I had a ton of Buck Rogers stuff. It was the joke of the reselling community. Like, everybody had a ton of Buck Rogers. We couldn't get rid of it because they printed so much of it and never sold. Sargasso of Space. And then lo and behold, it's all gone. I got none of it. I got nothing. A Matter of Gravitol. The Luna source book. So as much as I like to say, oh, that stuff didn't sell, who's the dummy? I don't have any. Phases of the Moon. No, it's not super high dollar stuff. This stuff's in great shape, by the way. This is probably some of the nicest I've seen since the shrink wrap stuff. The Belt. The Inner Worlds. And then the last item, which kind of doesn't fit the trade dress as the rest of the items. It was definitely an odd artwork. No Humans Allowed. And this is really tough to find. This is one of the last items that they did. And then I have a box set, the Buck Rogers Cliffhangers game, and this unfortunately got indented there. And then it had one supplement, The War Against the Han. So these are the two items. This is not the Buck Rogers role-playing game. This is the Cliffhanger High Adventure game. And I don't know a lot about this versus that. I just know that it was not a great seller. Sorry. I had tons of those for a long time. Wow. So we got great stuff in this box. Fantastic items. Really cool to see runs of Big Eye, Small Mouth, Buck Rogers, DC Heroes. Whew. Man, I'm going to be busy. I have a lot of checking in to do. Thanks for watching, everyone. Next video, we will start that other collection and take a break from the big guy here. Good one to end on, though. It was a great box. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.